Let's move on to this story. The former Stanford University swimmer convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman is out of jail. Brock Turner released this morning after spending only 3 months behind bars. That's half his 6-month sentence. The case drawing national attention after the victim's impact statement went viral. If you haven't read it, do. Many saying his sentence was too lenient in the first place. It led lawmakers to pass a tougher sexual assault law, and that's now on the governor's desk. The county sheriff saying that she hopes that he does sign it. She was asked this morning what went through her mind when she first heard what Turner's sentence was.
Outrage. It was a rape conviction. It was a rape conviction of a woman who was unconscious and drunk and should not have done time in our jail. We're done with him. He's gone. He should be in prison right now. He should have been in state prison. It should be a state prison sentence. It's a felony. It's a rape. 6 months where you only do 3 is not correct. It's not right.
Judge Aaron Persky sentenced Turner in June, citing extraordinary circumstances of his youth and clean criminal record. Since then, there's been a push to recall the judge. Meantime, Stanford University announcing a new alcohol policy banning hard liquor from most on-campus parties starting this fall. Despite the timing, the school says it has nothing to do with the Brock Turner case. Critics say that changing a school's drinking policies does not address the problem of rape culture on college campuses. Kat, to you first on this. Where do you start? Because, again, this is concern for the rapist rather than the victim. And rather than addressing rape and people raping unconscious, intoxicated women, the school's going to try and make it about alcohol consumption.
Yeah, right. Where you start is right. You look at the way that this kid talked about this, saying, well, this is so, what about my swimming? What about me? This wasn't because he was drunk. This is because this is a bad guy. I don't care how good he was at swimming or how good his grades are. He's clearly an entitled person who doesn't care about people other than himself. Now, the alcohol policy thing, that's actually going to make things worse. There's no studies that they said are going to make it better. We're going to have kids ripping shots in their dorm rooms to make sure they're drunk enough to go out to this party because they know that they can't drink freely there. It happens all the time. We weren't supposed to drink in my dorm rooms at all in college. Did people? Yes, everybody did. Yeah, and a lot of people would get really, really drunk.
Yeah, to be crass, it's not, hey, bourbon causes rape, but wine somehow doesn't.
Exactly.
That's the disgusting display based on this policy.
It's to look like you're doing something that's not controversial, that we don't have to actually say, oh, hey, let's try to change the culture, or hey, this was a horrible thing this kid did. That should not have happened. They're going to say, we're doing something by banning liquor from parties. People are going to be the drunkest they've ever been at these parties at Stanford.
Supposed to do?
Absolutely.
How do you change a culture? And what is rape culture? I mean, look, I think colleges are way less impressive than they pretend to be. I'm not defending Stanford. I wouldn't send my kids there. But partying too much on campuses is a real thing. I've got 2 kids in college. Yeah. It's a real thing. And people who are intoxicated do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. So to pretend that it's not a problem, that kids are wasted all the time in college, is not true. It's a huge problem. And, like, why would we pretend otherwise?
Why are we making alcohol, and this is what I'm about to say I think is fairly controversial, but when you stigmatize alcohol and you say that when you're 18, you're old enough to go to war and you're old enough to get married or whatever else you're doing, but you're not old enough to buy a bottle of scotch.
That's a fair point.
What that does is lead these kids to start doing exactly what Kat said. It becomes a stigma. You start doing shots in your room. You start doing it quietly. You start doing it in ways that you're not going to want anybody to see. What Stanford is doing is further stigmatizing it, and Kat is absolutely right.
That's not true.
The law of unintended consequences.
I just think that it just smacks of it all boils down to personal responsibility in terms of drinking and in terms of not committing rapes and sexual assaults on other individuals. Because when this Brock Turner was sentenced, the judge cited the fact that alcohol was involved in the incident because it impaired his judgment. Again, that's not making him take personal responsibility.
We're trying to blame everybody involved here except for the guy who actually did it. Because when you say a rape culture, that puts it back on the university. I mean, this man was a violent predator. When you read this report,
that's why I said read it.
Shocking. I mean, it's shocking what he did. And it's not about a rape culture, and it's not about alcohol. I mean, those are all things that are terrible. But this is about one person who's a violent predator who is now free.
And it's about one judge who essentially let him out of prison, out of jail in 3 months.
But can I just because this is true, we're being too clever by half. The idea that when you prohibit something, it increases its use is demonstrably untrue. There's a lot of social science in this. Drinking went down during Prohibition. We have legalized marijuana in a ton of states, in effect, marijuana use has risen dramatically. Now, that's bad or good depending on what you think. I'm not that upset about it, but it's true. When you prohibit something, people do it less. It's true with smoking. So if you do want to reduce drinking on campus, make grumpy noises about it, and people actually drink less.
On a college campus, you're going to drink when you're in college.
Absolutely
You're going to be doing it in the bathroom stall. You're going to be taking enough shots to make sure that you're drunk enough by the time you get there, rather than just being able to drink in a normal way, the way that you will or hopefully will throughout your life.
When do 18-year-olds drink normally? I've never met one who did.
Because it's been illegal for them for basically our entire adulthood. That's why.
So if we legalize heroin, would more people do it or less?
No, but it gets back
I can't
to
speak to heroin. I have no experience with heroin. I do with college
The reason
drinking.
that I'm not doing heroin is not because it's illegal. It's because
You don't
I don't want to die.
But it gets back to sexual assault and rape, and if you don't address that and make people take personal responsibility and send them to prison until they've got gray hair, then not a damn thing is
But you know
going
what,
to change
Melissa,
about
I'm
it.
sorry, but Melissa raises an excellent point, which is that all of us have drank in our lives and all of us have gotten drunk in our lives, and it has never led me to want to commit illegal acts.
Violent crime.
Right? Violent crime. And if you have it in you to commit a violent crime like a rape, alcohol is not the excuse for it. That's the part that I don't understand of this judge.
New evidence of political bias at Facebook, how liberals stacked the deck in its trending news section and kept conservative viewpoints under wraps, and what the social media giant is doing about it.